Here are 5 GMT watches at every price level, nearly every price level. My name is Nikolaus, and in the real world, I make watch straps. Together with my brother, I run the company Hirsch that you may or may not have heard of. And here on YouTube, I usually talk about all things watches. I review them, I style them with different kinds of straps, and sometimes even I talk about other things too, like my passion for photography. But today, we're going to talk about watches. We're going to talk more specifically about GMTs. I find that a GMT watch is the most world ready. I think the complication of having a second time zone is something I use more than any other complication I can think of. The chronograph is up there, and obviously having 200 or 100 meters of water resistance, but is that a complication? I don't think so. And besides, whoever sets their perpetual calendars perfectly? It's just the time that we set, don't we? I picked out 5 GMT watches at 5 different price points, and I'm gonna start with an obvious one. 500 euros. What can you get for 500 euros? Well, how about a Seiko 5 GMT, more specifically the SSK 001, a great GMT watch, and I've done a review on the watch that you can watch here if you want to. I love the Seiko 5. It's a great case. It's a very sturdy and reliable watch. Even though it doesn't have a screw down crown, it's still 100 meter water resistant. It's just a great everyday watch that you can do anything with it. And the looks might be familiar, especially on these GMTs. You get great quality for a very, very reasonable price. The fact that this watch is slightly priced over 500 euros here in Austria doesn't mean that you have to pay that much. You can get a great deal on these watches still, don't forget that. In my opinion, the best everyday kind of watch with a GMT function, although it's not a true GMT, but for 500 euros, this is very much the best you can get in my opinion. And Seiko is a powerhouse when it comes to watches. Not only affordable watches, but also when it comes to high horology pieces with Grand Seiko. So bear that in mind too. The second price range we're going to cover is approximately 1,500 euros. I dove deep into this price category and not much came up. So I found this Mido Ocean Star GMT, a very interesting piece that caught my attention. 200 meters of water resistance, 80 hours of power reserve, and a case diameter of approximately slightly over 40 millimeters. Interesting. It looks like a diver, but actually is also a GMT. And it comes with 2 straps. And they got me with 2 straps, with the bracelet and the NATO style strap that it comes with. It does have 21 millimeter lugs, which is kind of odd, but that's okay. Therefore, you have 2 different kinds of positions at the lugs to put on straps or a metal bracelet, depending on what you prefer. And you can decide how big the gap between strap and the watch should be. I found this watch particularly interesting because it combines a lot of things that I find quite helpful when wearing a watch around, especially if you consider it an everyday kind of watch. It does have a complication, that being the GMT function. And it's a true GMT, so you can independently set the hour hand, which is great for the price. You have a tried and tested movement from ETA that has 80 hours of power reserve, much more than you ever would need, and yet you still have 200 meters of water resistance and a quite intriguing design. Not too fancy, but not too plain, which I like. Yes, the watch is kind of thick with over 13 millimeters, but for the price, the Seiko was thick too. So in my opinion, a quite cool watch that I might have an eye on in the future. So now it's gonna get a little bit more serious, but there's an obvious choice in this price category and you all know it, and therefore I'm not gonna prolong this monologue anymore. 5,000 euros, my pick, Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT. Yes, I did pick this watch. Why? Well, it's a Tudor. It's fantastic quality, fantastic looks, You get what you pay for. The price is right. It's a true GMT. It has water resistance. It's METAS certified. I mean, come on. What more do you like? Yes, we can complain or discuss the aesthetics. They might not be for everyone, but I like the vintage-esque aesthetic in a modern case. I like that. It means that you can wear the watch every day, bang it around, do anything with it, go anywhere with it, and still have a very, very solid watch. Having not to worry about what I wear on my wrist. There's one more plus for this watch, the obvious plus that you have already noticed. It has 20mm lugs, therefore it allows me to style up or style down the watch. So yeah, 5,000 euros, Tudor is my pick. If you have a budget of approximately 10,000 euros or a little bit more, well, there is also an obvious choice here, and it's not going to be very surprising for you. It's a Rolex GMT. I mean, it depends if you can get one at your local AD, but I've heard that waiting lists have come down and they have become slightly more available. And for 10,000 euros, you potentially could also get a vintage GMT Master 1 in two-tone, or you can still get a bargain on a couple of the previous iterations of the GMT Master 2. So therefore, this would be my pick, because obviously if you have the money and you want a great watch, you want a sturdy watch, also want a little bit of the name, the brand that you're buying into, well then Rolex is the way to go. Let's be honest, I've been wearing my GMT Master Sprite so much lately that I could not pick any other watch for this category. The GMTs have 20mm lugs as well, which is awesome that you can also try out different kinds of straps. You have a lot of options to choose from, being it new or old, different kinds of bezels that you can pick, even different kinds of materials that you can choose from, steel or two-tone. Therefore, you have a wide variety of different kinds of Rolex GMT models at approximately plus or minus 10,000 euros. A little bit more plus if you want to go for a new one. So last but not least, if you have endless amounts of money, let's say a lot, what kind of GMT would I buy? Or what kind of GMT would I recommend you buy? There was this Hodinkee John Mayer talking watches, I think it was the second one, where John Mayer said, just pick this watch because if you want to skip the line, this will say that you might have other heavy hitters at home and will get you a seat at the table. Something like that. Well, the watch he was talking about was the Patek Philippe 5164 Aquanaut Travel Time in steel. If you have endless amounts, I'd still recommend going for the steel version of this watch. You could also pick up the rose gold or the new white gold version with the very nice gray blue dial and the gray blue rubber strap. Technically speaking, not a GMT function. It's a travel time, but it's just so cool to look at. That's how simple it is. A travel time function with the two pushers. You push it forward, you push it backward. You have two time zones that you can look at. What more do you want? The definition might not be the same as the previous models, but hey, if you have endless money and you want a second time zone and that's all you need, then this is the watch to go for. At least I would go for this watch because it's just a cool watch. And the complication, I love the complication. There's a watch finder video that I'll link down below of a previous iteration in a Calatrava with the same functionality. I think it was the 5134 or something like that, but I'll put a link down below. This watch is exceptional. It's beautiful, but it's not as sturdy as an Aquanaut, and therefore I pick would be an Aquanaut. To conclude everything, I have presented you with 5 different kinds of GMT watches in 5 different price categories. And now it's your turn. Put your suggestions down below and surprise me. I'm eager to learn what kind of watches you pick for these 5 price categories. If you want to watch 2 other videos that are similar in this sense, or reviews about the watches that I was just talking about, here are 2 watches to pick. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do subscribe. And as always, if you feel like it, put a thumbs up. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.